G'day, welcome to Say It With Guitars. I'm your host, Pete Cornelius. Each episode, I'll be digging deep and getting to hang with some of Australia's finest guitar pickers, songwriters, producers, collectors, and makers. I look forward to bringing you these fun conversations, and I hope you enjoy Say It With Guitars.
Hey there, listeners. Thanks again for joining us on the pod. Always a pleasure to know that there are people out there listening. It's a wonderful thing. So this week's guest is a friend of mine, Adam Pringle. He's a really great guitar player from Sydney, always knows the right thing to play, the right sound, and he's very, very influenced by a lot of the same stuff that I am. So yeah, we get to have a chat on the pod here and we sort of nerd out a bit to begin with on amps and the like, but we sort of do break free of that at some stage during the pod. Also, I'll be putting in a bunch of Adam's songs which haven't actually been released and made public yet. So there's a bit of a debut in terms of Adam's songs, getting out there to the world. So hopefully you enjoy his material. Also, I want to tell you about a show coming up in Launceston. It's a pretty special one-off sort of event put on by the Gig Finder, which is Tasmania's premier entertainment guide, and Red Hot Sessions. So it's a bit of a small, tiny desk kind of concert in the middle of Launceston, and it's Friday, August 30. There are no door sales, so make sure you get your tickets online. Only a limited amount of tickets. You can get them from tickets.gigfinder.au/events. All the info is there on the webpage. All right, let's go. Before we crack into today's show, I'd like to shout out to our Season 3 sponsors, Tarrant Guitars and Top Shelf Guitars. The custom workshop of award-winning luthier Billy Tarrant on the northwest coast of Tasmania uses locally and internationally sourced solid tone woods to create a wide range of custom guitars, including acoustic, electric, lap steel guitars and specialty instruments, showcasing his passion for superior tone and structural integrity. Tassie's one-stop custom workshop for custom-made guitars, all guitar repairs and services. Visit tarrantguitars.net.au. Top Shelf Instruments specialise in used and vintage guitars, pedals and amps, shipping worldwide from Hobart, Tasmania. They love helping players land exceptional instruments for manageable dollars, and guitars from Japan hold a special place in their hearts. New old guitars hit the website almost daily, so head on over to the website for this week's weird and wonderful offerings. topshelfinstruments.com.au. All right, on with the conversation. All right, I'd like to welcome to the podcast of Say It With Guitars, Mr. Adam Pringle. Adam, how are you?
Hello, Pete. I am well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Excellent, mate. Oh, no worries. It's a pleasure, and it's been, I've been keen to get you on the show for a little while, and I remember talking to Ollie Thorpe for his little episode, and he's like, we should have like what's Pringle playing at the moment, sort of like little check-ins every now and again. Like a little gear check-in.
Yeah, I just did a bit of a rehearsal this afternoon with Ollie. He said to say hi.
Oh, wicked. Excellent. Yeah. Excellent. What's cooking with you guys? You guys doing a Little Feat thing? Is that what you said?
Yeah. Just next week at Lazy Bones in Marrickville. We're just playing a whole bunch of Little Feat stuff just for no other reason than that'll be fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
cool.
Yeah, Ollie's doing most of the singing and driving the bus, So that'd be great.
Okay. So it's his little initiation. He sort of sowed the seed, did he?
Yeah. So it's me, Robbie Wolf on keys, and Jan Bangmer and Tully Ryan on drums and stuff. Yeah, so it should be good fun. So I'm on slide duties.
Yeah. Fantastic. Fantastic. And that's some great material, man. Are you are you focusing on a particular period, or are you just going to open the book up and just go nuts?
Yeah, it's just kind of yeah, it's just I think Ollie got together with Jan and Tully, and they were like, "This is a cool song. This is a cool song." You know, they just
Yeah.
you know, like that's the extent of it, really. I think they were just like, "Hey, that's a cool one.
Cool.
Let's do that." So, you know, I mean, all those those funky, it's very Loud George based, or his feature type songs, which is
Okay. Yep.
the band, but the very Loud George ones, So,
Gotcha. Yep.
yeah,
All the Dixie Chicken period stuff.
yeah, all that.
Yeah.
But it's great. It's going to be it's just going to be so nice to play those grooves and stuff. Like we did
absolutely.
we did some Raikuda shows a couple of years back, and same kind of vibe. It was just hey, let's just pick out the songs we like and just have a blow on those and stuff. And it was great.
Great.
So, just really good doing all that. That funky country-ish groovy thing, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
All that 70s rye stuff, it was pretty happening.
Yep. It's so funky and it's so deep, some of those grooves. Because he used, I think, Keltner a lot of the time, didn't he, for a lot of his drum percussion duties?
Yeah. Some pretty heavy stuff there. So, it wasn't the easiest gig to learn, but same with this Little Feat one. It's kind of like, whoa, this is a few more curly bits than you realise.
Once you start picking it apart, there are lots of little curlies in there. Yeah. So it'll be fun, man. So you're gonna like play a Strat and put a lot of compression on.
Yeah.
Is it the? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm thinking, the Strat. I'm thinking I might take my Marshall for that, just to get more of that compressed thing happening, and
okay.
Get that sort of chunky sound with the slide on the. But it's got to be the Strat for that one.
Yeah, 100%. And when you say Marshall, what sort of Marshall are you running there, mate? What's happening there?
Well, it's not a real Marshall. I had one made for me by Eric from EB Amps. Does amps and cabs and and Valve Tone. I forget his name. He does the wiring of the heads, and Eric puts it all together and stuff. So it's a 50 watt JMP 70 style Marshall head. I got him to put it in a 212, combo, 2 greenbacks, and
nice.
So it's kind of master volume 70s vibe, without it being a real super duper thumper, So is that?
Yeah. So
I
still
played
got
through
4
a
inputs,
real one.
or is he?
Oh, it's just the one. So it's internally jumped in internally.
Yep.
Cool. It's just hardwired with the jump and stuff. So.
Yep.
So, but I did play an original JMP 50 watter the other day. I went to the Amp Tech's house, and he had Dennis Tech's old 77, I think he said it was, Marshall 50 watt JMP, and with the 412s. And it was kind of like, Jiminy Christmas. That's quite a noise. It's quite a sound. big close back,
especially through a quad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just punch it out.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I've just got a sort of a bit of a baby version of it, the 212s with an open back and,
Yep. Nice.
But yeah, I mean, it's a bit more practical for doing gigs around town as well. That's right.
Oh, totally. Yep.
I didn't want to go all in on the...
I got to play through an old JCM 800 recently through a big 412 cab, and it was like an outside gig, like 100 water. And I had a ball. It was just like, this thing is so much fun. And I didn't have to lug it, it was already there. It was fantastic.
That's the best one. Yeah.
Oh, it's the best.
The one that's always there.
I did help. I did loan a hand, but far out. Yeah.
It's a thing when you do it, you go, oh wow, this is a total thing. Like I get it, this is it's
like all the frequencies, everything was just strong.
Town. Yeah. Doing gigs around town, it's just like, oh man, that's just far too silly.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Actually, I recall borrowing a little Supro a few years ago.
Oh, yeah.
To play at a little country bar down in the Surrey Hills or something.
Yeah,
it's a tiny little thing, but it didn't look like the Supros of today. It must have been some sort of like prequel. Amp.
It was just before they changed to what they've got that vintage look of them now. It was. Yeah, I've still got that amp that had Vito did a lot of surgery on that and added reverb to it and changed it from EL34s to he did it so it's now got six V6s in there and he put tremolo in it and stuff like I don't know what he did, but
he went to town.
Yeah, he really went to town on it. Sounds great. But but that was one of those it was the Sahara model, which it was that Zinky dude, he worked for Fender in the 90s or something, and he bought the Supro name or something, I think. Is what I vaguely remember, and he started making some amps. So I don't know if he's still a part of it or somebody else came along and started redoing like the 60s style Supros.
Yep.
Which seemed like good amps. I haven't really used
They did seem like good amps. Yeah, but they're like, I've never seen one since. It was like the only sort of, must have been a pretty short little run he did of that series. Yeah.
I'm not sure. But yeah, it's a good little amp. That was my main thing for a few years. That one. So.
Yeah. And what's he go to these days, Adam? For a little club date?
Oh,
or is
that's
it just
a difficult
whatever's
question.
closest to the door?
Yeah. Well, yeah, amps are kind of my thing these days, or the last few years I've been buying amps. Like I've got more amps than I have guitars. So So that's
awesome.
So yeah, I kind of, I've got the classic, all the main food groups of guitars, like Tele Strat and Les Paul and like all the, most of the bases covered there. But I've ended up with lots of different amps. I've been finding bargains, and so I've got most of the classic Fender amps. I've got a bunch of Achilles tweeds, Achilles made from Melbourne.
Yep, from Melbourne
stuff, and and
still got that old blackface Super.
Yeah, I do. Thanks for the heads up on that one, Pete. I still got that. Yeah, it's a 67 according to the serial number. Yeah, blackface Super Reverb. So depending on the size of the gig, and for most gigs I'm doing with Continental Robert, it's pretty much a blues, a pretty straight ahead bluesy kind of gig. I'm trying to use less pedals as possible. Like, so I'll just take a reverb tank with like my Tweed Vibrolux or the Tweed Deluxe or something like that. I kind of been trying to just have fun with that, just depending on the size of the room and what powered amp and stuff like that. So
perfect. Yeah.
But then there's a bunch of gigs that, I need the pedal board and, have some funky phaser sounds and, all that sort of vibe and some fuzz and whatnot. But yeah, so like I found a few great Achilles amps on Gumtree, kind of cheap, and I recently got a Tweed Twin, which is pretty cool.
Oh wow! Like 100 watt?
Yes, the
Tweed Twin.
Oh, it's the 40 watt low power Tweed Twin. Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Which is the 5E8 or something, and I got a Bassman and I got a 210 Super, which is cool. Tweed Super. That's a groovy little amp. It's like a mini Bassman sort of thing.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. You should have a go at that sometime.
I'd love to.
And but I guess one of my favorite, most regular one that gets a lot of use is I've got an old Moody Australian made amp, like an early 60s Moody. Vito had rebuilt the guts of that too, to like a kind of a deluxe reverb sort of vibe. That's a particularly nice sounding amp, that one. So,
right.
That's beautiful.
That's quite a big cabinet too, for memory. That sort of size amp, isn't it? Is it sort of like bigger than a deluxe reverb?
Sort of. It's kind of narrow, but I think it's a bit taller. And it's just it's a funny old thing. But it's But it sounds.
That's your Facebook pic, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
the one on that.
That one,
Sweet. That's a good looking little rig.
Yeah. That's quite a happening amp. And so if I've got to do basically that's probably my favorite all rounder. You know what I mean? That can be up loud, takes, the pedals work good with it. And, the reverb in it is fantastic. It's just voiced really nicely and stuff. So that's particularly nice.
Beauty.
And then I've got a couple of magnetones.
Fantastic.
Stuff too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You got that Vibra King still?
I do, yes. Yeah, that's rather glorious. It's a big amp, though. It's a lot of amp.
Yeah. It sure is. Yeah. And same thing, getting that in and out of a car is not fun either. Heavy suckers.
Yeah. The load in how many stairs there are affects the choice on that one. But it's glorious. It's what an amplifier, but
it's never a regret. Yep. 100%.
You made my night so miserable. You made my day so blue. You give me nothing but the blues, baby. Still I go for you.
That's cool, man. That's great. I remember like years ago when we used to hang out and play a lot of music together. You always had a nice, interesting collection of things. Like you sort of definitely didn't have the same old industry standard. I remember at Goulburn once, I think you turned up with like this hollow body Les Paul, like you got from Cash Converters or something, like $100 Les Paul or something. I was like, that was
That's
great.
right.
And it sounded magic. But
Yeah.
even with pedals and stuff, I remember you always using to have them like these little down electro pedals that just made funky little noises, and and that Roto, is it Roto Vibe, Rotosphere, that thing that Hughes and Kettner thing? I used to love hearing you play that.
I still got that. Yeah, that's a beauty.
Wicked.
Yeah, I got that for my
The Charlie Hunter.
When I was, a mate of mine bought that for my 21st, and it was kind of, what's that sound that and it was it turns out Charlie Hunter was using that, and Warren Haynes used the Rotosphere as well, and it was kind of like both of those sounds were like, although they're very different sonically, those two guys, but it was just like, well, that seems to be the pedal for it, for the Leslie thing. So
yeah,
and it's great. It's a beauty. I don't take it out that often. I was using it a bit with a couple of years ago. I was doing a bunch of gigs with Ray. I was using it a bit with him just to break up the two guitar sound a little bit. Yeah. Just so it wasn't so completely guitar for the entire night.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of something different. Because there was a lot of guitar.
So do you find yourself in that scenario much, mate? Do you find yourself playing second guitar or first guitar in any like, or do you sort of mainly your main gigs kind of like just filling in with a keyboard player or simply a trio, or what's been the flow?
Yeah, well, most of my gigs these days are just Continental Robert is the most regular gig that I do. If there's a gig around town, Continental's got one there. Like he's been around forever and he's great.
So good.
So that's usually just guitar, bass, drums, and Robert on harmonica. So quite often, that's the regular lineup for that, and I play with Jo Fabro. She's a great singer, and that's guitar, bass, drums. She plays a bit of keys, just kind of supportive keys playing. She's not a shredder on the keyboard, but so that's kind of the most common type of lineup I've been doing. And then when I do my own gigs, which is pretty rare these days, I usually either do a trio or get Rob Wolf to come and play piano at Butcher's Brew. There's an upright piano there.
Oh, cool.
But I mean, over the last few years, there's been I've done a whole bunch of different stuff with Ray Beadle, where I'm playing second guitar, which is great. I mean, I love doing that job. It's like when it's just sort of an extra piece on his regular trio with George and Benny. That's when we did an album, his latest album, Bound to Get the Blues. I played on that, the second guitar on that, with all the fuzz and stuff. So made it pretty chunky and it was a pretty rocking album. So that was really fun, and just giving Ray the room to just burn. Like he wanted a really tough sounding album, and
well, he's got it.
But then there was also the Stax
fantastic
album we did. Yeah.
Okay.
It was so great doing those few records with Ray, and the gigs after. So the Stax one was great too, because it was a different kind of second guitar role to that tough thing with Ray. It was just like a great soul band, playing and all those great things with horns and, a bit of wah-wah pedal action here and there. And,
Okay. Yeah.
So it's just great fun being in a big
channeling
engine.
a bit of cropper sort of stuff.
Yeah. There was, there was bits of the cropper thing and there was a few songs off the Albert King I Want to Get Funky record.
Oh,
Which
yeah.
is, Playing on Me
Right.
and stuff like that, which was the Bar Keys, I think. I think they did that.
Right.
But yeah, that was awesome being in the, some of the live shows for that. We did Blues Fest and a bunch of other things. And it was just, we had Declan Kelly on drums and Rowan Lane on bass. And it's just like,
Great.
those guys are perfect for that gig.
Yes.
Like I remember talking with Ray before it, and he said he wants to do this album, and who should we get? And I was like, man, you got to get Rowan and Deck. It's like, they're the guys for that. That's they grew up on that. And it was just, man, such a happening band. It's like, wow, we can play this music.
Yeah,
it's like,
it would have been electric, absolutely.
Like
and they're
fantasy
lovely
camp.
lovely guys to hang out with too when you're not on stage, tearing a new one.
Yeah.
Lovely guys to hang with.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, Ray'd been quite busy for a couple of years, but he's sort of stepped back at the moment. So there hasn't really been much happening this year doing that sort of job. And so I'm just kind of, I've got a day job and I've got kids to, do things with on weekends. So I don't really want to. I'm kind of happy not leaving town on the weekend and stuff, So just doing the mostly small kind of just working gigs around town, which is
Great.
mostly with Continental, which is great. I mean, Robert's so good; he's just always good.
He's such a showman, hey? Like he's just on, like he's just got that in his DNA that turn up and it's just going to be good.
It's, and he's got an enormous song list, which is I've played with Robert for a long time, but I was like the regular fill-in guy for about 15 years or something. Eventually I just sort of learned all this material, and then for a while Ilya Sweck and I were sort of sharing the gig, just sort of half doing the gigs here and there, and then it just kind of morphed into, Ilya was really busy doing other things with Pat Powell a lot and stuff, and I don't know, just ended up being the regular guy, and so there's always there's always new songs coming in and out from over the history of Continental's always. So there's quite a big repertoire, and he's, he always puts on a show, and it's a good hang. He's just lovely to hang out with, and I got to pick him up and drive him to shows sometimes because he doesn't drive. He's always good fun hanging to drive.
So do you take that, or maybe initially did you take that gig sort of with the idea or the approach that Dave Brewer might have done, like with that sort of clean strat kind of approach? Was that a bit of a brief, or that was just a good platform to start from? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that sound of the Reapers is just so. Whenever we do any of those old tunes, it's like that's what I hear in my head is what it's supposed to sound like is what Dave was doing, and I mean, always for a long time it was always just kind of, well, that's the sound that Conti loves, which is that Buddy Guy and Junior Wells thing, that 60s thing of those guys that Conti just loves that stuff, and that's really what they had in mind, so okay.
I mean, but it's kind of morphed here and there on certain songs and certain styles of things, and
Yep.
you know, just from doing a lot of gigs, which is, you know,
Oh, it's a natural
just kind of do, you know,
natural thing, right?
yeah. And it was, you know, when Vito was around and still playing bass, like he was such a unusual, distinctive bass player. That was like a common thing all through the Reapers, and then Continental on his own. Vito was always there, so it was still very much the sound of what goes with that bass sound is that clean Strat thing, you know.
Yep.
So yeah, you know, like it's been different without Vito, and you know, it's still such a it still seems surprising that he's not around, you know. But and
he was definitely a big part of the Sydney music scene. Not only playing bass, but doing all these repairs, and just a larger than life character. Hey.
Yeah. He was a funny man. He was he could be difficult at times, but he was a very funny man. He was always got on well with Vito.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was just such a distinctive sound, the way he played. You know. That was just so entwined with Continentals. Like, yeah, with those two guys going, it was its own style of groovy thing that they had, you know.
100%. And he was kind of like band leader as well a bit too. I know that like Conti was always throwing some moves around on stage, but like Vito seemed to be the guy that was talking and eyeballing everyone, you know. He was the guy, you know.
Oh yeah.
MDing.
Yeah. You know, he was, you know, he had high standards. And he'd let you know if you weren't meeting them, you know.
And free of charge.
But, yeah.
No extra cost.
No extra cost. Yeah. But you know, geez, he was a great bass player.
Yeah.
I really like playing with Robert. You know, it's a really good, you know, it's a good play. It's a good hang. It's a good, you know, it's just a good vibe always.
Yeah. I got to catch up with him very briefly on my last little visit up to Sydney. He came out to Miss Seeley's.
Cool.
I was out there one night for their Thursday night jam. I was their little host.
Yeah.
Guitar picker, and he came out and said g'day and played a few tunes with us, and it was a lovely little interaction, and reminisced, because he came down to Tassie here once too. Well, not once, he's been down a few times, but he came down here and used our band for a little run.
Yeah, cool.
And we sort of like
Awesome.
reminiscing, I suppose, and you know, hoping to get him back down here again, like because that was great. I definitely enjoyed playing guitar with him.
No, he's a good egg, that one.
Yeah.
'Cause I've got heartaches and hangovers since you've been gone. As the days go by, I'm drinking more and more. My old friend is down at the liquor store. I buy the jug and it takes away the pain. And I know when tomorrow that things will be the same.
So what's happening on your front? I know that you talked about a few Adam Pringle band shows, not so recently, but like what's happening there? Is that a space that you're writing original material, or are you throwing out some quirky covers, or
just kind of a bit unusual sort of covers, a bit, you know, and just finding some things to work my own way. You know, I'm not a very confident singer, so I just kind of got to figure out ways to make it work, you know. So
Yep.
You know, I just find, I'll try and find a song and figure out how I can get it done. Yeah.
Sure.
Because, I wish I could just, open my mouth and let rip like Ray Charles or something. But, yeah.
Yeah. You're not alone, though. Like, far out. Not many people can get the Ray Charles thing done.
Yeah. So I just sort of, do my own gig at Butcher's Brew every few months or so.
Yep.
I usually just do it there because it's a nice little spot. And, Caroline, who runs it's a legend, and it doesn't take too many people to feel like a good vibe in there. So
yeah, sure.
So I don't feel too bad if not many people come.
Yeah. Yeah.
But and there's an upright piano, which is great. So I try to get Robbie there to play piano with us when we can. And
yep.
So I just kind of, I used to do more of my own band a while back, and I just, I don't know, I was never good at really chasing down the gigs and just, dealing with it.
Oh, dude, absolutely.
So I just sort of, I just kind of, I find it a pretty comfortable way to do it. Just a little gig at Butcher's Brew every now and then, and
yep.
Just throw it around with my friends, see who's available.
Yep.
Whether it's Rowan on bass or Miles Thomas on drums or Declan or whatever. Like,
yep.
just kind of go, what are you up to?
Yeah.
And it usually works out pretty good. So, so I've just found that a nice way to do it without feeling like making a real big deal out of anything, So, and I can just feel comfortable enough to play then, Hey, Pete, I think I might have lost you.
Ah, cool. I think we're good.
Good.
I might just explain to the people out there on podcast land that we've just had some technical difficulty, but we're back on track, folks.
Back.
I've got no idea what we're talking about. So how's about you run us down on some of your early, like what made you pick up the guitar, Adam? I know there's a lot of key influences in there, but I'd love to hear them again. Who was some of your fire starters?
Yeah. Well, see, as a kid, like my dad always had a great record collection.
Yeah.
Well, CD collection. He lost his records got stolen before I was born, and he got in early on CDs, so he was always buying CDs as a kid to restock his old record collection. So I grew up hearing a lot. All the classic. My dad's like, boomer, born in 1950, so grew up with the Beatles and all that 60s blues explosion and all that stuff. So I heard, everything from the Everly Brothers to heaps of Beatles to, heaps of 70s stuff, and his favourite bands, the Allman Brothers, and so I just heard a lot of music. And when I was a kid, I found a guitar. There was a guitar on top of a wardrobe that my dad had bought. It was on sale one day or something, and he said, "Oh yeah, maybe one day I'll learn guitar," and never got around to it. And then I kept wanting to play with it, so it was like, all right, off to the music shop you go for lessons. And the first stuff I was learning was like Neil Young and Beatles tunes.
What sort of Neil Young?
Both of which I still love.
Was it like Crazy Horse material?
No, like the Harvest stuff.
Okay.
And, I was learning Old Man and Heart of Gold and stuff. But like I'd always heard the Crazy Horse stuff as well. I remember, the Rust Never Sleeps, and Live Rust stuff. I remember seeing those videos when I was a kid. With
the giant amps,
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
So that, I mean, I think that sort of influence still came out on, playing with the real dirty fuzzy stuff on Ray's album was, let's go for that.
Yeah.
Kind of, you want a bit of guts, let's give it some of that.
Yeah.
So it was all that sort of stuff. And then, I mean, as I got a bit older, around the start of high school, I was like, I found Cream and Hendrix and stuff, and it was like, my dad had this stuff, and I'd heard it already as a kid, like when I was younger, and then it was, reading about those guys or hearing of it, Clapton and Hendrix, and then Stevie Ray. I found Stevie Ray around that time, and that was it. It was just, kind of, right.
Yeah.
I'm into this. Yeah. And then, and it was finding out who those guys loved as well, So I was like, Dad, do you have any Howlin' Wolf? He's like, yeah, here you go. Just go and listen to that. So it was there. It was available for me to find, listen to,
Fantastic.
I took it. So I was able to get into, like, because, pre-internet days, it was, if you didn't have an older brother or a dad or something, or, like, it could be hard to find that stuff because sure it wasn't on the radio.
That's right. Yep.
So just through all that, I found all those, all the big names of blues my dad had.
Yep.
And then I started buying my own CDs. That's when I found some the bit further out guys that, I've heard of this guy from, I read his name somewhere in some interview.
Yep.
And so it's just really hardcore blues and Stevie Ray.
Yep.
All through my teens.
Yep.
What you gonna do? I'm sick and tired, fooling around with you.
And from memory, did you get lessons with Mal Eastick, or he was at least a mentor for you for a long time?
Yeah. So when I was about 15 till I was about 17, so I spent a couple of years getting lessons off Mal. And, and that really, he was a great teacher. Mal, he really tidied it all up for me.
Okay.
Sort of thing, like I'd been learning stuff just, playing along to the records and anyway. So Mel really sort of helped tidy up the playing, really drilled me on making sure you bend in tune and vibrato's not pulling out of tune and just all this sort of stuff. And, which was really good for me at that age to really sort of, it was that stuff that I think kept me employed as a guitar player early on. That maybe the depth of knowledge wasn't amazing, but I could play notes well. You know what I mean? So that's that really helped. I think when it came time for gigs and stuff. But, and then it was just learning on the job, you know what I mean? And it just sort of expanding out from the blues, just from other guys you play with, just going, I remember, I think it was Dave Brewer told me to check out the Meters. It was like, I'd never heard of them.
Yep.
My dad had Neville Brothers things, but he hadn't really copped the Meters himself, so it wasn't around. I was like, oh, okay. So, I found a Meters anthology and I was like, whoa, yeah, into this.
Yeah, well, I remember, with Red Beans, when you guys were a trio, like I'd never heard of that material either, and that was so refreshing and just eye-opening. And then same as all the other greats, it's like, okay, well, who did they listen to and who did they play with? And then you start hearing albums a day with a backing band on, and it's just like, this is so great.
Yeah. So you just go down the rabbit hole and, just finding all this stuff, and it just grew over time from, I'm really glad I did get into the blues so hard early on.
Yep.
Because everything's related to it, and it was just all these different paths to go down to checking out different stuff and picking up different ideas for playing. And
I still got I've got a fond memory of sitting in your, I think it was a Commodore wagon at the front of the Empire, listening to some Kelly Joe Phelps. You're like, check this out. You need to listen to this guy. I'd never heard of Kelly Joe either, and I was like, "Oh, this is magic!" And some of his early, I think it was one of his early sort of lap steel orientated records. I was like, "Fuck yeah, fantastic!"
Yeah.
So it's just when you get the right moment, the right person comes your way and shows you something, or someone you respect goes, "Hey, check this out."
Yeah,
like that makes such a pivotal moment in people's listening and learning. Learning,
absolutely. Yeah. And like Mel was a great teacher, and then I started doing gigs. Yeah, and then it was just having to expand a little bit as the gigs got a little bit more, varied, and then when I was like in my early 20s, I had a few gigs that, here's the material, here's the album that we've just done, learn this and stuff. And on a couple of those, Mark Punch had played guitar on the albums.
Oh, yep.
And Mark it was just like, I was learning these parts, and it's like, what a great idea that was, what a great part.
Yeah.
I was just like, what a great idea.
Yeah.
And you just had this knack of making these songs come to life with just the most right guitar part. And I got to sort of meet him and hang out with him a bit around that time, just through friends of friends, and he was living in Balmain, and he was friends with other people that I played with, and so I was just like, oh, I gotta know this guy, he's just incredible. And so just his lyrical sort of approach to playing songs was really quite an eye-opener as well, that helped expand things from just to be a better musician, just from checking him out and listening to and hanging out with Mark a bit.
Yeah.
And,
very supportive player.
Yeah,
he wasn't aiming for any spotlight. He's always just there supporting 100%, making the song sound great.
Yeah, and he just made music sound better
Yep.
when he was part of the band or whatever,
Yep.
So that was a really big sort of musical epiphany for me as well, seeing him do that.
Yeah.
And it was kind of sort of around that sort of time as well. I saw Buddy Miller playing with Emmylou Harris.
Yeah.
Up at Blues Fest. And it was just, guitar, bass and drums with Emmylou.
Yep.
And Buddy Miller was just, you had the tape echo going, and it was just glorious.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, you could do that. That's something. I think I need to buy me a delay pedal.
Yeah. A baritone.
So those guys really sort of helped broaden out from just being a blues specialist.
Yep.
I mean, blues is still my favorite thing to do and play. I mean, but they just helped really open the door musically to being a bit more well-rounded, or I suppose.
Yeah, yeah. But I guess growing up in Sydney, like the diversity in music around town is so deep. And if you're willing to spend $5 on the door and get into this venue that or it's probably a lot of free gigs. I don't know, like going to see Jackie Azarski, like that's a lesson. Right there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Jack was amazing. He had such a thing going on, and I was lucky enough to play with him a bunch of times. Bit of the fill-in guy for a couple of periods there. And
what's the story? Wasn't it
he was just
asking what the key was, and he's like, "Use your ears." Or something. When was it?
Yeah.
What's that one?
You'll be right. Just use your ears, man. Yeah. If you don't know, just don't play anything. Like, okay, Jack. And I was doing this run of gigs with him at the Mac, the old Mac in Surrey Hills, and it was just a 4-piece band. It wasn't the big machine, so it was Jack on piccolo bass, and then I think it was Alex Hewitson on bass and Hamish on drums.
Great.
And Jack called me for the gig. Oh, great! Like, wow, I'm playing with the big boys. You know, and I was like, "Oh, you got any material I can check out, Jack?" And he's like, "Oh, just use your ears, you'll be fine, man." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." The second week comes around. I say, "Hey, you got any material, Jack?" Yeah, I'll get you something. So I'll get you a CD or something. And still no CD. So after the third gig, I was like, "Jack, can you give me some material to check out so I know what's going on?" So I've just been really busy, I said, "Oh, what, oh, come on, man, like the gigs are happening now, like, I've already done 3 of them, like, can you give me something?" Because a lot of it was not particularly easy.
Yeah.
If you, just to grab on the fly. It's, like they all had bits and things going on.
Yep.
And I said, "Oh, how come you're too busy?" "Well, what's so busy?" Like, he said, "Oh, I'm arranging this orchestra." It's like, "Oh yeah, well, that sounds interesting." He said, "Yeah, the Marrakesh Orchestra for the King of Morocco."
Oh, wow.
Like, "Oh, okay, I'll be all right then." Don't worry, like, that sounds a bit more important than the gig at the Mac.
A few charts at the Mac.
He was like, "No, you're doing fine."
That's classic. Wow. Yeah, he's a heavy dude. Oh, Jack.
So I mean, I got really lucky playing with some of the older guys who were around in the early days.
Yeah, very supportive and open to people.
Well, I know, yes, I know. Well, I know, you know the score.
You still see Harry Bruce getting around with his camcorder and taking video. Like, he's excited, like it's so great. To be at that age, to be excited about music and everyone's path. It's bloody inspiring.
Yeah, Harry's a treasure. He's I did one of my first gigs ever with Harry.
Did you?
Man, when I was like 16.
Yep.
The band, it was Mitch Anderson.
Yep.
Mitch Anderson, keyboard player and singer, he's great voice. They had this band called Skin, and it was him and Chris Parkinson played guitar in that band from the Yearlings.
Oh, yeah.
If you know Chris.
Yeah, out
He
in
lives
South Australia.
South Australia
Yeah.
now. Beautiful guitar player.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they were like this funky young Bondi dudes with long hair wearing flares in the 90s.
Right.
Stuff. And anyway, so Chris is a family friend, and he heard I was playing guitar. He said, "Why don't you come and do this gig with us?" And it was a Saturday afternoon. I turned up, so it was Mitch and Chris, and the bass player. It was Harry Bruce on bass. There was 2 drummers that day. It was Declan Kelly and Angus Diggs.
Oh my God.
Both together, so 2 kits going. So it was like pretty heavy.
Yeah.
And they were just doing these long funk jams, you know.
Yep.
You know, all the people doing, Bondi in that mid-90s was kind of a lot more of a hippie sort of vibe than it is
Right.
than the rich money thing. Than the yuppie sort of vibe it is these days.
Okay.
So there was lots of bands who, living in share houses there and stuff, living the rock and roll dream, And so there was that regular gig that I did. But yeah, with those guys the first time, it was kind of like, well, there's a lesson to either get on board with the groove that's happening there with, because it was quite a groove with those guys.
I would have been
It's kind of like
quite an established
there
groove
it
too,
is,
yeah.
so-
Just little percussive bits of guitar here and there, little flavours.
Yeah, it was just kind of get on board with that, or
Yeah.
like,
Powerful.
get on board, or you're going to look pretty stupid.
Yeah.
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 So that was pretty funny. And Harry, I remember I'd just seen him with Kevin Borich the week before. And it was the first time I'd seen Borich, and
Yep.
it was the big guitar show, and Harry did all the slapping, and it was fully rocking out.
Yeah.
And then the next week he was just like, "Hey man, what? Show me your guitar. What's your amp?"
Yeah.
Like he was just like he was like a 17-year-old kid.
Yeah.
like he still is.
Yep.
He's just like, "Oh, awesome! That's so awesome! What are you doing? What are you listening to?"
Yeah.
And he was just into it. He was amazing.
That's so good.
Yeah. So it was pretty funny.
Yeah. Actually, Harry should have his own podcast. That'd be hilarious. Lots of stories.
Yeah. Oh man. He's got to write a book one day.
Totally.
It's just,
Totally. I remember doing a show
he's seen everything.
in Newcastle once. He played bass with us, and we had George playing drums, and we drove up I think we picked him up on the way from George's house. Anyway, like the whole time he just had stories, just endless, up and down. Like we weren't falling asleep on the wheel. Like we were laughing our asses off at some of Harry's stories. It was bloody great.
Yeah.
Played a gig and drove back home. And
Yeah.
it was magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a classic.
Absolutely. So what's happening future for you, Adam? What's on the cards, mate? Any more of your own? Like, do you write much? Do you do any instrumental music or?
Not really. I've always struggled with writing. I've had more like sort of co-writing with other people a bit more. Like with the songwriter, and just sort of, I've got this bit of an idea, and just helping them knock it into shape, or But yeah, I've always just been a bit like, oh, that's garbage. Why don't I just play this other really good song that already exists?
Yeah.
I always just, I don't know. I think I'm my worst critic, but
yeah.
And I just sort of, it's just one of those things. It's sort of, I've always thought I'll get around to it one of these days. I should start doing it properly, get it like really trying and doing it.
Yep.
You know. But yeah, still yet to really. Yeah, I don't know if I'll ever get around to it.
I reckon you will. Once
But
the kids are a bit older, you got a bit more flexibility with time, and trying to pay rent in Sydney, you can't be easy. You got to got to hold a job. You got to play lots of music. Last thing you probably want to do is try and create music. So
yeah, I mean, it's that's right. I mean, I've really made my gigs be like I'm doing gigs where I love the music and it's a really good hang with good people.
Yeah.
So I've really just sort of just avoided things that affect that sort of it's like I want this to be a really nice, pleasant experience.
Yeah.
To do it, like I mean, I spent years surviving playing guitar and doing there's always the gigs that you kind of don't really love or you just go, oh, I'm just doing this for the money or playing weddings or something. And, so it's just kind of like, well, I've got a day job now, and so if I'm going to play music, I'm going to really enjoy it, and play music I love and with really good friends and stuff, So
that's the good stuff, isn't it? When you can make that decision and choose that scenario. Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
Are you still working for APRA?
Yeah,
the Australian Performers Rights Association?
That's right. Yeah.
For those who don't know what APRA means.
Yeah.
Wicked. You've been there for a while now, yeah?
Yeah, it's been like 9 years now.
Yep.
Yeah, it's good. It's a great place for for a desk job. It's the end result's good. It's songwriters getting paid.
Yeah.
Sure beats working for Big Tobacco or something.
Yeah.
So it's just
it's a non-for-profit. They're definitely doing good things in Australia for singer-songwriters and just the scene and the industry and
they
APRA awards,
fight the good fight, and they really do care about songwriters and want to do the best they can. So it's good. There's quite a bunch of musicians.
Is it quite common to have musos to work there? Yeah, sorry, I think you're just saying that.
There is quite a lot. Rowan works there too. Rowan Lane.
Oh, cool.
Bass player.
Great.
There's quite a lot of musicians and even a lot of people who may not be professional working musicians. Like most people there that I know at least sort of hobby songwriters or produce their own music, or, like just about everybody I know of there really loves music and,
Great.
makes music in some way, or,
Yep.
It's
Excellent.
or it's just
That's
like
a
a
pretty
mega
healthy
fan.
work environment then, by the sound of it.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
good.
right.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Nice.
I don't have to wear a suit and try and
Yeah.
beat last year's profit.
Try and sell.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So, but it's good. It's reliable. And so yeah, just doing that. And, yeah, just this Little Feet gig coming up. Hopefully there'll be more of that. It's that's the only real special event type of thing. I mean, I've got my own gig at Butcher's Brew in August, I think. Oh, and there's a great big blues day.
Yep.
Early August too. Is that the 3rd? Like the Blues Day, International Blues Day or whatever. At Miracle
Oh, yeah,
Bowler.
right.
Yeah, I'm playing
Cool.
with Joe Fabro at that, but the Mighty Reapers are on as well, and
Yep.
Steph Marchant's playing as well. So yeah,
Did you play for the Cronulla Jazz and Blues Festival recently?
Oh.
Wasn't there a show with Simon?
yeah.
And was it Ray as well? Maybe.
No, Ray was off playing bass with the Reapers that night. We did the Brass Monkey
Right.
with so we had George and Benny for Ray's rhythm section for the house band, and it was me, Jesse Red Wing, Simon Kenny Lewis, Darren Jack,
Jacko.
and Ewan Lund, young Ewan.
Okay.
So I just played mostly Freddie King instrumentals in my set.
Fantastic.
The Hideaway album.
Yeah. Stumble.
Can't go wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
And
Did you wear finger picks?
oh no,
Nah.
but I did take the gold top Les Paul for it. So,
Oh, great.
yeah.
It's definitely a sound, I reckon, in those finger picks, like part of Freddie's attack.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just a bit hopeless with them.
Yeah, they feel so
I got
bizarre.
it's quite foreign. It takes a bit of getting used to. And I did get it happening at one point, but I just didn't keep it up, and so now it feels really foreign if I put them on. And it's like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't do this.
Yeah, and you beat your guitar
But,
up if you hit it, end up looking, like the cat's
But,
been
some people pay a lot of money for that these
That's
days.
right.
Oh.
That's right.
But yeah, that was good. So yeah, we might do that again sometime. I think everyone was keen for another one of those with all the guitar up on.
Yeah,
And,
it definitely looked good. I saw a little snippet online. Definitely looked like a night to be had down in Cronulla. So
yeah.
very cool. Cool, man. Well, I'm going to leave you to it, Adam. Thanks very much for hanging out with us on the podcast.
Oh,
Thanks for your
having
time.
me. Pleasure, sir.
A few insights, a few stories. Yes, I can't wait to do it again in the flesh. It's been a bloody long time. So
It has.
maybe you have to come and hang out sometime.
Yeah, it'd be lovely to get down there sometime. That'd be good. Yeah. If you need an amp, I'm your I'm your man. Take your pick.
Take your pick. Well, yeah, what size venue are you playing?
Yeah.
I'll tailor your tone.
Yeah. Awesome, man.
Right on. Thanks, Adam.
Oh, thanks, Pete.
Take it easy.
Oh, real cool. Cheers. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks for listening, folks, to another episode of Say It With Guitars. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to the podcast, share it around to your mates, leave a good review, and hopefully we'll see you next time.